Hi, everybody, it's Lee Caraher, and this is Everything Speaks, where we talk about how everything you do and say speaks for you, if you want it to or not. And today we're going to take a little bit of a left turn, but we'll wrap it around to what things say about you and how you talk about things. In that I've gotten a lot of emails and calls, actually, in the last couple weeks from recent graduates or soon-to-be graduates of college just asking for advice. And it's tough job market out there. We've just hired 2 new entry-level people. They start next week, but we had a huge pile of qualified, great candidates to choose from, which is not always the case. And, there's probably 10 other people in that pile who would be good fits for us. We don't have the capacity for. So I understand that it is hard. It is a hard job market right now. And also, if you've graduated without a job, it feels probably really heavy. And if you've graduated with a job, a lot of uncertainty. So it's exciting and terrifying all at the same time. I'm not that old that I don't remember that feeling. So a few things to remember or to just know as you go into the world with your degree. One is, one of the hardest adjustments I see with people who are entering the workforce after college is that there are no timelines after college. There are no timelines in the workplace, meaning that you don't automatically every 9 months get promoted, or every year you start at 1 year and then you're a 10th grader and then 11th grader and a 12th grader. That doesn't happen. You will not get promoted every year on the anniversary of your date of when you started. It's not going to happen for the end of time. And with your peers, if you start with another person at the same time, you cannot assume that you'll advance at the same pace, because everybody's different. You might have the same title, but the positions are different and the opportunities are different depending on what you're assigned to and all that kind of stuff. So you and Joe might start on the same day. You might get promoted 6 months before Joe. You might get promoted 8 months after Joe, and it might feel unfair because the last 22 years of your life, you have gone from year to year to year to year, advance. And that is not how the world works in business. Big company, small company, whatever company. So that's sort of hard. So the faster you can grasp that, the easier it is. The easier it is for you to manage it. And I see this with people, until they're 27, 28, who are just disappointed that they're not moving at the pace that they did in their education. Some people will, right? I personally was a fast riser, and then I got to a certain point where it just takes a long time to get from one title to the next title. But there is no set timeline, right? And you're not in control of it because there's no standard. You're not in control of it. All you can do is control yourself and control your contribution and the case. So that's hard. That's a hard adjustment. And not having a 4-year arc too, right? I'll be here for 4 years. I'll be there for 4 years. No such thing. No such thing. Same time, we look at people, when you're recruiting people, imagine someone's 28 years old, been in the job force for 6 years, and they have 6 different jobs in 6 different companies. I am staying away from that person as much as I possibly can because they're a job hopper. And job hoppers are not reliable. I'm going to put a lot of effort. Most companies are going to put a lot of effort into bringing someone on board, making them useful, getting them part of a team, all that kind of stuff. And if you have a track record of abandoning ship, then the older you get on that, the less opportunity you have, period. Just period. So if you can stick it out, I tell everybody, just stick it out. Sometimes you get into a job and it sucks. It sucks and I want to be here. 3 months and you're like, oh my God, I got to get out now. Yes, you might have to get out. And B, don't leave without a new job unless you're physically at risk. If you're physically at risk, leave. Absolutely, leave. If it's a toxic workplace, go find another job. Don't wait for the year to get up. But in general, 90% of us are going to be in positions where eke it out. Be there for a year. But if you go year to year to year to year, eventually that's going to catch up with you and you're going to have less opportunity if you're a job hopper, particularly early on in your career. Which leads me to number 2. Whatever job you have, the first job you get is not going to be the job you have even in 3 years because everything is changing so much about how we do things. Unless you are horse trainer, unless you are, things where that technology and workforce and all that kind of stuff works differently. I'm talking about office jobs still. They're going to change dramatically. The job titles are going to change dramatically in the next 5 years. So whatever your job have today is going to evolve dramatically in the next 2, 3, 4 years. So you're going to have a lot of jobs. You might stay at the same company your whole career, but you're going to have a lot of different jobs, a lot of different roles. Things are going to be different. I started Double Forte in 2002, before Twitter, before Facebook was available to regular people, not just .edus. And our function is the same, but how we do things is so different. The value of what we bring to the table has dramatically improved. So, although the company is 20-something years old, 23 years old, I guess, this year, we've been through 4 or 5 different evolutions of what is a PR firm, and the roles have changed dramatically. So whatever you choose to do first, it's going to change, which leads me to, can you make a bad decision? Get a job. Get a job. If you don't have a job right now, you're holding out for your dream job, there is no such thing as a dream job. Everybody I know in my whole career who thought they had a dream job was ultimately disappointed pretty quickly in the reality of that position. Oh, I'm going to be a financial advisor. I'm going to be a venture capitalist. I'm going to be in private equity. I'm going to be in PR. I'm going to be in advertising. I'm going to be whatever, in fashion, whatever it is. I don't know anybody who hasn't been disappointed in their dream job because what you imagine it will be, either from your research or even your internships or what you see on television, is far from the reality of the day-to-day of it all. So number one, there is no dream job. Number two is the most important thing about, and you're going to have lots of jobs. Even just 6 years ago, experts were saying, that recent graduates if this is before COVID, recent graduates would have 5 different jobs, meaning roles in their careers. I bet you that is going to be higher. That's probably going to be higher now. It's very uncommon to find someone who sticks in a job in a company particularly at the beginning of their career, for 5, 6, 7 years. And if they do, they probably their positions have dramatically changed or they've stalled. Those are the 2 options, really. So, you might think, oh, I'm going to go into this field. That field may not be the one you end up with. It might be not the one you stay with for long term. Probably won't be. Pretty unusual in that I got into public relations with my degree in medieval history and stayed with it my whole career. But my job has changed. The circumstances have changed so much that it is so far from what I started at that I don't think of it as the same thing, the same function, but then not the same thing. So I guess number 2 is there is no dream job. Having a job is more important than waiting for the best job. And then being able to parlay one position into the next position is where you have strength. It's where you have strength. So get a job, stick with it, unless you're in physical danger, which happens. I know people where it's happened, very rare. Parlay that, stick at least 1 year, and then move. Don't do that forever and ever, right? Stay 2 years, stay 3. You're more valuable the longer you stay, particularly in your beginning of your career. If you can stay 2, 3 years, you will be much more valuable in the job market than a 1-year person, for sure. Oh my gosh. And you're going to have days where you're like, I just want to quit this thing. Just don't, unless you have another position to go to. It is hard to get a job in any circumstance. It's harder to get a job when you're pressured to get a job. So I get it. It's just a challenge. Having said that, now, if you don't have a job, regardless if you have a job or not, if you have a job, sign up for your 401k. If you don't have a job, sign up for an IRA, probably a Roth one, and start putting away $50 a month. Just $50 a month. You can find a way. Just don't go out for dinner 1 week. Don't go get drinks 1 week. Have water instead of beer for a week, whatever it is. $50 a month. Start putting it away right now. Because today, so I'm 61, the people who were able to put away $25 to $50 a month from the beginning of their career have, just by that, if they only put that away, they would have something like $1.5 million. People who don't do that, and it's like, oh, I can't afford $50. If you're making $40,000, $50,000, you can afford $50. Do it. It will change your life. It'll change the trajectory of your life. It'll change your career at the end of it. It'll give you more options. It doesn't, maybe $50 seems like too much. It's not a lot. Just do it. And as soon as you get into a 401k, put as much as you possibly can. And if you can do the max, do the max. Because this is compounding wealth that you don't get to touch really without a penalty, which is the point. The point is not to touch it without the penalty so that you have it later on, and they'll give you more freedom. This little thing that you can just put automatic, you won't even notice it, will give you a lot more freedom later in your life. Having said that, every time you get a raise, increase the number of dollars that you're saving and increase the number of dollars you're putting into your IRA or your 401k. Think about, so if you get a raise, maybe you get, a $10,000 raise, just say that. That's a lot of raise, but say you get a $10,000 raise. Put $2,000 of that, your taxes will go up, but $2,000 of that into savings and then spend the rest. And the savings, maybe you do $2,000 into your IRA, $2,000 into savings, and the rest, go have fun, buy a new something, whatever it is. But every time you get a raise, increase your savings rate. And again, you'll just have so many more options later in life. You will never, ever, ever regret saving money early in your career. Trust me. Just trust me on this. Another thing is that you have probably been used to a deadline in school for the last 8 years, at least, of end of day, whatever, which really usually means 11:59 p.m. in whatever time zone you're in. That is not a real deadline. Deadlines in the real world, in the work world, are not 11:59 p.m. on the day. So you might hear the terms end of day. That does not mean 11:59 p.m. in any world, in the work world. So you want to be very clear. Ask for times. What time do you want this? In what time zone? If you are working across time zones, which most of us will be, ask what time zone it's going to be in. And when you're giving deadlines or telling people when you're going to send something, you tell them, I'm going to give it to you on Friday, May 30th by noon Central Time. You need that specificity. That is going to differentiate you day one from everybody around you. Trust me, because you are used to having, give it to me by the end of the day, or give it to me on this day, 11:59 p.m. That's not a real deadline. That is an education deadline. It's not a real world deadline. And don't let it screw you up, man, because deadlines will screw you up. If you don't meet them, it's all over. I mean, it just really differentiates you. Meeting deadlines, beating deadlines, real ones, differentiates you in the workplace from day one. Be early. Actually, if the deadline is noon, send it at 11:50 a.m. If you're supposed to be there at 8 a.m., get there at 7:50 a.m. Be ready to roll. Being 10 minutes early is being on time. Same thing with deadlines, same thing with when to show up, et cetera, et cetera. So that concept of time is so different in the work world than it is in school, right? You have every year you get promoted, the deadline's 11:59, every 4 years something changes. Those are all gone. In the real world, deadlines are specific times on specific dates and specific time zones. And it is very seldom. I don't think I've ever seen a deadline in the work world that is 11:59 p.m. So if you don't know what time it's supposed to be at, ask the question. And then if you're giving deadlines, be specific. What day, what time zone, and make it in the regular part of the day. Don't give a deadline that is after hours, unless it's a crisis. And you're probably not going to be in one in the first few years of your career. I'm just going to say it. Okay. I don't know what number I'm on, but find new people. Find new people. I loved my college. I loved it. I just was such a great, I went to Carleton College in Minnesota. It was so awesome. And my son's actually on his way to his 5th year reunion for his college, which is across the river from my college. But, he has great friends. I have great friends from college, but they're not going to travel with you, right? And the more you can expand from your college ecosystem to a different ecosystem will give you more options. Will not count on your college people to stay where they are, because they won't. We're not going to stay where they are. You're not going to stay where you are. So find new people. Maybe that's taking a class or joining a sports league or going to church or synagogue or, doing a dinner thing or whatever, or doing networking with whatever career you're in. Find new people. And with that, also travel. If now's a great time to travel in your 20s, go where you haven't been. You can always go home. But it's harder to leave after you hit your 30s. Just harder to leave. So, can you go to LA? Can you go to New York? Can you go to Louisiana? Can you go to Chicago? Can you go to Minneapolis? Can you go to Eau Claire, Wisconsin? Go somewhere else. And figure it out, even if you don't know anybody. It's one of the best experiences I ever had. And we were talking with our intern, Megan, yesterday on this topic. And everybody who went somewhere else in their 20s said it was one of the best things they ever did. And then some of the people returned to where they grew up. Other people did not. But go experience another part of the country because it's huge country. Huge country. Go experience other parts of the world. Go travel. Particularly go travel now before it gets even harder, frankly, in the next few years. Go travel. Experiences. And I think I said this, but there's no perfect job. So you got to make your life is not about your job. Your career should not define you. You should define how your career fits in your job, in your life. And the thing I learned very late in life was, later than I wished I'd learned it, was that I get to define my success. I get to define what is success for me, which may not look like success for somebody else. And although it is true, you have to live in constructs of where you're getting paid and how you work and all that kind of stuff. Making sure that you're putting it in context is really important. You may not like the job you're in. What are you learning from it? What can you leverage from this job to the next? What can you take from it as long as you give to it? If you're, because you can't count on corporate America is not here for you. That's for sure. We're not in control. I own a small company. We've had 2 layoffs in 22 years, and I still remember those days. I can't control you can't control a lot. And I hope that, and as the owner of a small company, you have a different sort of set of rules that are much more lax than big corporate America. But I've been in corporate America a lot. We work for corporate America in terms of our client base. And my observation is those people who know that work the system, that figure out how they can contribute and move and get what they need and want out of whatever position they're in to advance what they want to pursue and how they want their life to be balanced are the happy people. They work really hard. The higher expectations you have for your workplace, the more opportunity you're going to have. The better company you work for that has better returns, better position in the marketplace, the more options you have. So it's all about options, which is, going back to the beginning, scary. It's scary to have so many options. It's scary to have the world as your oyster because, what decision to make? What path should I take? There's so many paths you could take, and there probably isn't a bad one. There probably isn't a bad one as long as you know that you can move from it if you don't like it. So that's my advice to recent graduates. Good luck.